We've got a couple of people who haven't arrived, and if they do arrive, you all go, ooh, okay, because it's very, very bad to arrive late for something German. Okay. So my name's Monique. I'm the CEO of the German Chamber of Commerce here in New Zealand, known as the, yeah, that's great, known as the New Zealand German Business Association. We're a bilateral trade office. We help German companies trying to get a foothold in the market here, and we help New Zealand companies trying to get a foothold in the market in Germany, whether you're sourcing product or whether you're exporting. I've been doing the job for 20 years now, in fact 21 years. As you can hear, I am a Kiwi. Ich bin aber auch Deutsch. My father is German, my mother is a New Zealander. I've spent my entire life negotiating with my father, and I think I'm bloody well qualified for this job. A lot of the stuff that we talk about today, it's light-hearted, but there is quite a strong message in behind there, which I hope you take away with you. There are some simple messages, but they do get forgotten quite quickly. So hopefully I'll deliver it in a way that you'll remember the little stories and the video bits and the rest of it, and you'll smile when you get into a situation and go, ah, yes. I have had other clients come back to me afterwards and say, I just happened to be in that situation that you talked about. Today we are here basically to work out, how do Germans tick? We are going to look at some very important things, because when you are talking to Germans, they are interested in the relationship New Zealand-Germany, and if you can throw some stats at them, you'll win brownie points. So we will just talk quickly about that, but I won't go overboard. We're also going to talk about a little bit of history. It's very important to understand how Germans tick because of their history. And we're going to talk about the influences, the people who have influenced the way Germany has developed, the way it thinks, the way people are taught at school. And then finally we'll get into the preparation for a meeting, the hypothetical meeting, what things you need to think about, right from language, the do's and don'ts, and the actual things that you should be aware of when you are setting up a meeting and going to a meeting. I don't know whether you realise this, that the EU is actually New Zealand's third most important trading partner. Up until recently it was actually our second most important trading partner. China sort of just slipped over a year or two ago. Germany is the seventh most important trading partner, ahead of the UK, just so you know. There are now 72,000 German tourists coming through New Zealand every year. Went up from the last stats, 66,000. So there's been a dramatic increase in German tourists coming to New Zealand, and they are the biggest spenders. They stay for the longest time. They have enormous holidays every year, 52 working days. And when they come to New Zealand, they want to take the lot. So they're actually a very important tourist group for New Zealand. There are 9,000 young Germans in New Zealand at any one point in time on working holiday visas. And they make fabulous interns. So if any of you need interns, I have a stack of CVs sitting there on the job portal. Just come and email me or whatever afterwards, because we've got them in all sorts of varieties, whether you want BCom students or engineering students or website developers or whatever. And we also have 3,500 young Germans at school throughout New Zealand. In fact, predominantly now in Auckland. We did have a lot coming to Christchurch, but a certain event have sort of frightened off the parents allowing their kids to come here. Hopefully we can fix that up soon. Almost 3 billion in trade between the two countries, and it's a little bit top heavy. So those that are exporting, get to it, because you've got to increase this. We're very unbalanced. Now, Germany is a great believer in balanced trade. At the moment they have a massive surplus, i.e. they are exporting way more than they are importing. It'd be nice if New Zealand could do that too. So, what immediately springs to mind when you think of a German? Precision? Honest, yes. There's numerous other ones, but anything to do with punctual, efficient, direct, They're non-emotional words that normally describe a German. And actually the way they do business is pretty much the same. There's not a heck of a lot of emotion in there. That was the bane of my life when I went to school in New Zealand. Everyone called me Schultz. In fact, the guys at the end of my sixth form year actually said to me, "What actually is your name?" Because I'd been called Schultz all my college life here in New Zealand. This is another image that people have of Germans. This is actually a Bavarian. This is probably not the perception you have of Germans, but in actual fact, that's Carnival. Time of the year when Germans go completely nuts. I have seen the weirdest things going on in a 3-day period. This is the article that's in the pack there, which you can have a read of afterwards. Get thee to an institute. Germans concede that in humour they need professional help. The problem is that I've found is partially to do with the language. When you try and translate a joke from German into another language, it just doesn't work. It just truly doesn't work. The other thing is Germans have an incredibly dry sense of humour. So dry that you actually don't realise they're making a joke. So we're quite similar, really. There's a lot of historic connections between, say, the English and the Germans, but it makes it that much more important to understand the little differences. Shaking hands. I will go into this in a little bit more depth. Didn't have a chance in this room. Normally I would be standing at the door and I would be shaking everyone's hand and testing it out. Shaking hands is really, really important in the German culture. The way you shake the hand and that you do shake hands. When I went to school in Germany, I was from 11 till 13. When we arrived in the schoolyard in the mornings, we shook hands. That's how you greet each other. In France, they would be doing the kiss kiss. Here it's, yeah. But these things, they are important to understand, and they are the beginning of how you communicate or how you impress the person that you're talking to. Germany is very much a religious country. Like most of Europe, of course, went through some horrendous times, and as a result of the 30 Years' War, we found that most of the Germans separated by their religion. So in the north we have the Protestants, and in the south we have the Catholics. Obviously the closer you get to Rome, I guess, that's sort of my theory on it. This interesting area here, what's that? Former East Germany. No religion at all. Probably the most important man in the history of Germany that everyone thinks fondly of was der alte Fritz, Frederick II, Frederick the Great. He was actually the king in Prussia, so in a part of the blue bit here is Prussia, in a part of Prussia until 1772, and then he became king of Prussia, so Prussia actually all joined together, all the little parts became one big area, and he became the king of that whole area. We then moved into what's called the German Empire. So this was the unification of Germany. That's why we now talk about the reunification of Germany since East Germany joined in with West, because this is the second time that Germany has unified. Previously it was 72 principalities. Not 70, 27 principalities. And in 1871 they actually managed to join them all together. Every one of those little principalities, of course, had a royal family, and of course many of them were connected with the English royal family as well. Not that they really want that to be well known, but they were all pretty much interbred. And it was quite an achievement to have actually brought all these little states together into one big organised, well, bureaucracy or monarchy, I guess. Immanuel Kant was famous for his writings on logic. Everything was logic, it could be reasoned. There was no questions about anything. There was always a logical way of putting it together. It's a book that I've never ever managed to get through, but it is still studied at university in Germany. The next one is Goethe, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and the video you saw was from the Goethe Institute. Goethe was instrumental in education in Germany. Not just language, but education full stop. He was instrumental in setting up the way Germans learn. Johann Sebastian Bach, obviously music, classical music is a big thing in Germany, and he didn't create a new wonderful type of music. He took a form of music that was already there and he improved on it. He made it more rhythmic. He analysed it. So it wasn't an emotional type of music. It was this sounds better because it is more rhythmic. And when you walk into many German people's homes, if you ever get to walk into a German person's home, it doesn't happen that often, you will normally find that they have a, generally, if they're over 55 through 60, they'll probably have very dark furniture and quite old-fashioned styles. Any younger tends to be really sterile, black, red, and this sort of colour, timber, very, very popular, and not a lot of texture and colour. Finally, we get to a woman. It took that long before a woman actually appears in the history of Germany. And she's not going anywhere either. She has now been re-elected, and in actual fact, Angela Merkel has actually just announced that she will probably not stand again. She will probably actually step down before the next set of elections, which is just such a clever thing to do, because then you've never lost an election. Very, very clever mutti.